Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers and talk some draft. Gents, how we doing up there in the great state of Wisconsin?
It's a beautiful day. A little bit of snow tonight coming through Green Bay, though. We'll take it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Had a big election here, so if you had time, probably got out and did some voting. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah, a little bit of bad weather blowing in right now, but that's the price you pay.
That's right.
Yeah, we're looking for 50s over here, and Clayton, you're getting some 80s. I hear
crazy, man. It's tomorrow 77, then 85, 86, and 88. 88 degrees.
We'll catch up to you in a couple of months.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Let's go to the chat real quick. We got a couple people in here. Prince says 3 of 7 top 30 visits have been edge. Goody, quote, "We are not interested in chasing pass rushers." Lying season indeed. So, and here's Ryan did a good job kind of hitting on this earlier. I think it was today's pod. When he says, he likes the room we've got, I believe him. I'm just telling you, man. Like, Ryan did a great job breaking down the numbers. When you actually look at how these pass rushers performed, and then you couple that with what we showed on Chalk Talk all year long, which, by the way, you can get, I think, weeks 1 through 5 in the Patreon group. I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 more weeks tomorrow. You'll see exactly what we're talking about, how it was a controlled pass rush keyed in on stopping the run. And, if it was something where all 4 pass rushers were constantly pinning their ears back and the numbers weren't maybe as good, I'd be more concerned. But that's why I'm focused on 3 tech, because Kenny's the one who struggled.
Yep.
But also Kenny's getting older, and also Kenny's cap is extremely high. So we got to try to find that other 3 tech to go with Devontae White. I think they see Devontae White in the future. I really do. I think they want to re-sign him, or give him the 5th-year option and use that as a bridge to re-sign him. I think that's probably a route that they're going to be going. And then you draft another 3 tech, whether it's in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, because this is a defensive tackle and edge rusher heavy draft. And then that's the guy who's in place to step in for Kenny as Kenny moves on from Green Bay. So, but again, it's going to come down to how the board falls. That's what it is. And in terms of looking at the pass rushers, if you look at the pass rushers they've met with, I don't think it's about we got to draft one in the 1st round, although they probably love to do that. I think what they're looking at with these specific pass rushers, think about who they are. It was James Pierce Jr., right? A guy who's people were worried, is he too small? There might be character issues, all these things. And we debunked the character issues, in my opinion. Now, some people could disagree. That's okay. I think they want to get him in there because it's like, hey, this dude could be a stud, but also that could be a big bust. Let's go meet with him. Same thing with Shamar Stewart. Crazy upside. I mean, just insane upside with the physical attributes, the traits that he's got, but he can't rush the passer. Let's get him in the building and see if he's a guy we want to work with. Like, hey, this dude could be like a sponge. But on top of that, think about what you do when you draft an edge defender in the 1st round. We drafted Lucas Van Ness 13th. He didn't immediately play a huge role, right? We drafted Rashawn Gary early in the 1st, if I remember correctly, fairly early. He didn't play a huge role because we have Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. The MO, you've got to go off precedent. And the MO with the Green Bay Packers is you're not drafting a rookie to just come in and light the world on fire. That's just not how it works. If it happens, great. If they show us enough in training camp, mini camps, training camp, and of course practice in the regular season, you go, we cannot keep this guy off the field. So be it. But you've got another guy in Brenton Cox Jr. that's behind, your top edge defenders. And again, I think it's going to come down to best player available. I don't know if you guys got anything on that in terms of those top 30 visits. And I think many people were just settling in on Goody's going to take an edge rusher in the 1st round. I think there's a really good chance of it, but I don't think it's a slam dunk either. It depends on how the board falls.
I would agree. And I think, to Prince's point, lying season, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're not interested in chasing pass rushers. We're happy with the guys that we have. I think if anything, it's him, lion season in the sense of like throw guys off the scent, like never let them know what your plans are.
Right.
But I think both can be true, right? Goody can be happy with this room that we have when it comes to the pass rushers, especially the edge group, and also want to get better. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we went 3 tech and edge early, and maybe often. Maybe it's 2 edge and a 3 tech, or it's 2 defensive tackles and a monster edge rusher, something like that. I believe all those things can be true. You can feel good about the personnel you have and still want to load up and get better. We felt good about our quarterback room when we drafted Aaron Rodgers, and we felt good about our quarterback room when we drafted Jordan Love. And this applies to multiple position groups across the board. You can always get better. There's no such thing as it being a bad thing to have depth. And most guys, I don't care what round you're drafted in, most guys, like you said, Clayton, they don't come into the league and play 550 snaps right out of the gate. It takes time to mold these guys. So I think both can be true, really.
Yeah, and I think fans don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. Drew D says he met with a couple of high edge, right? Yeah, he met with, like we said, in terms of top 30 visits, James Pierce Jr., who's 12th on our board, and then Shamar Stewart, who is 15th on our board. Those are top 30 visits. And Michael Williams in the 22 spot out of Georgia. Now, again, if those top 2 guys fall to you, right, you better have your damn information in line on whether or not you want that to be the pick or not, because there's a chance both of those guys could fall just because they're not these well-crafted pass rushers. They're just physical freaks. But go ahead, Jacob. What's your take on this, man?
Yeah, I did. If you haven't listened to Ryan's pod from this morning, excuse me, it's really worth listening to, because he does talk about how, in his theory, there was a defensive coach situation that wasn't great. Obviously, you had the new situation with Hafley trying to get their feet wet and get into the groove there. But when you highlight specifically what they did on the back end, they had guys like, Gary was, I believe, around 16 or 17%. It was LVN was at like 15%. Wyatt was at 15 or 16%. My boy Brenton Cox Jr. was sniffing 19%, guys. And it just is kind of, and Kingsley, had an off year, but he even showed some numbers on the back end. And the 2 biggest pieces that weren't performing was, unfortunately, TJ Slayton in a pass rushing role and Kenny Clark, which obviously both of those are either been dealt with or going to be dealt with. I think that what the Monster Aggressor UFO says here, says based off what Goody said, so edge would just be a depth piece in later rounds. So meaning that a D tackle or wide receiver or corner is a priority. I think that's a decent generalization, but like you said, Clayton, it just depends on the way the board falls. You can't sit here and say, well, this is going to happen in the first, this is going to happen in the second. I think a more fair statement is to say, if this does happen in the first, then this in the second is more likely. But to just say this is going to happen in the first, this is going to happen in the third, he won't look this way until the fourth at this position. You have no way of knowing that. So
yeah, it's just I laughed, and this is no way a shot at UFO. It's just amazing how we can all hear the same thing and think he means something totally different. But that's the beautiful thing about being a fan and everybody having differing opinions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But as you can see here, here's our PTA big board. And by the way, shout out to Emilio. He may be joining us shortly. He actually added an updated version of this in the Patreon group just a few minutes ago. He added one earlier today. I'm like, hey, man, I just added in about 6 different Greg Cosell bonuses. That's really shuffled it around. So you guys have access to that in the Patreon group. Just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. So James Pierce Jr., like we said, in the 12 spot. Then it's Shamar Stewart in the 15 spot. And then it is Mike Green in the 20 spot. Then Michael Williams in the 22 spot. And then the next top 30 visit that's highest on our board is Savone Revel Jr. in the 25 spot, which really cool hearing Greg Cosell talk about him. Only gave a 3-point bonus for Savone Revel. But the reason being is he was like, this guy, this is what Greg Cosell said. Savone Revel might be the best press man corner in this entire draft, but he needs to learn how to play zone. and reading route concepts and all that stuff. So I gave him a 3-point bonus as opposed to 5. I was like, man, we might give him a 7. And by the time he was done with the whole, he's used to playing man coverage, it's going to take some time to adapt to that. Trying to play off and play zone. We just kind of settled into a 3-point bonus there. So anyway, anything you guys want to see on this before we move to the next topic and kind of get into some of the most recent reports from our boy Easton Butler talking about who the Packers have met with here recently? We good on this?
I mean, Easton Butler's always got gold, so we should keep it moving. Yeah, for sure.
He messaged me right before I went live and said, hey, I've got several more I'm just waiting for confirmation on, so we'll keep our ear to the streets.
That's one of the reasons you should follow him, is because he waits for confirmation. He's not just gonna clickbait you to death. If he's posting something, it's 99.9% accurate for sure.
Yeah, and we were gonna have Baz on tonight, but he had to reschedule last second. I think he's planning on coming on tomorrow night. Although I'm not gonna hold his feet to the fire. He's very busy. I told him, hey, man, we're live every night. You want to hop on for 20 minutes whenever you can. It's cool. So we'll have him on, get his draft takes here pretty soon as well. So Easton Butler tweeted out, New Hampshire defensive end Josiah Silver met with the Packers, 49ers, and Patriots and Ravens at his pro day. So a New Hampshire defensive end is
New Hampshire
on the target list here. Next, we have New Mexico State defensive end Kel Edwards met with the Packers at his pro day. All right. So, and you can tell by these guys' build when it says defensive end, you look at the build, these are edge defenders, no doubt. Okay. Next, you've got Holy Cross wide receiver Justin Shorter met with the Ravens, Packers, Niners, and Patriots at his pro day. And then Easton Butler had tweeted out St. Norbert.
There we go.
If you guys don't know what St. Norbert College is, maybe you're not from the Green Bay area. The main reason I know about it is because that's where Lombardi for the long, he had his players dorm there, bunk there for training camp, right? At St. Norbert. And am I thinking right? Is it down toward Alloway or is it further away, Tim? I was thinking
St. Norbert's De Pere area.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's basically south of Schwabenheim where Lambeau is, but pretty cool, man. That would be awesome if they go and sign a UDFA from St. Norbert. I'll be pulling for him the whole way. But anyways, wide receiver tight end Mitch Van Vuren, I think I'm saying that right, met with the Packers at the CGS All-Star game earlier this year. Van Vuren also received an invite to the Packers local pro day last week.
Let's go. D3, let's go. Receiver / tight end, probably a receiver.
There you go. So there's the latest in terms of visits for the Packers. Anything you guys want to add to that? Obviously, you have 2 or 3 edge defenders there. You had a couple of wide receivers. One was a tight end wide receiver hybrid type guy. So
shout out to Joyce Martha. She says she's an alumni, St. Norbert. Congrats. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Love it.
Nerd.
All right, let's jump into one of the first pieces we're going to get into tonight. This was really interesting. There was something that came across Twitter earlier today. It was actually this morning. I think I tweeted it out and it got a little bit of play. But Tet McMillan, there's a video going around of him sitting and eating lunch, it looks like. And it almost looks like a Veritas style video, like somebody's filming it from the bottom of the table. And I don't know if he knew they were filming, but it's basically him saying that he said that he doesn't like to watch football. He doesn't even like to watch film on the game. And immediately everybody's like, this is what we're talking about. He's loving. It was from 2 years ago. It's always remarkable to me how these videos surface right before the draft that someone has been holding on to for 2 freaking years. It's absolutely hilarious. So I went and done a little bit of digging here. I'm sorry, Bucket Skoldenberg went and done some digging.
Bucket Skoldenberg with the report live on PPA Patreon.
He's always got the scoop.
So Tetairoa McMillan, character concerns or NFL draft noise. Tet McMillan, the standout wide receiver from the Arizona Wildcats, currently sits as the 5th best prospect on our PTA big board. That's right. You heard it right. He is now in the 5 spot on our big board for the 2025 NFL draft with an impressive college stat line, 3,423 receiving yards, and a reputation for game-breaking ability. He's been a name to watch. Former NFL player and analyst Ross Tucker recently called McMillan, quote, a slam dunk top prospect earlier this year, praising his size, hands, and upside. Ross actually went on to say But now all of a sudden whispers of doubt have crept into the conversation. And basically he's like, it's amazing how we haven't played any football. And all of a sudden now he's dropping on lists. And he mentioned that to Greg Cosell, and Greg Cosell laughed it off as well. It says, but now all of a sudden whispers of doubt have crept into the conversation despite zero football being played since the season ended. What's behind the shift? Are there character issues, real character issues, or is it just pre-draft chatter? Let's break down the incidents or lack thereof tied to McMillan. So no documented incidents. A deep dive into McMillan's past reveals no red flags. There's no report of legal trouble, team suspensions, or public missteps from his high school or college days. On paper, he's a clean prospect with a track record of production. So Warren Sharp, that's the video I'm talking about. Look how it's filmed. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's just really strange. But anyway, Warren Sharp tweeted, and I really respect Warren Sharp for doing this. He said, a clipped video from a podcast is making its rounds showing wide receiver Tet McMillan saying, quote, I don't watch football. I don't like watching film either. The host said it was from the off season, quote, okay, as if it were a recent recording. I want to clear this up. The video was filmed 2 years ago after his freshman year when he was 19. He talked on the full behind-the-scenes video, link below, which he linked it to the tweet, published in April 2023, about how his goal is a 1,000-yard season. He then recorded back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons. McMillan will turn 22 next week. He's probably changed a bit since spring 2023. And regardless of his current 2025 take on watching football/film, just wanted to clarify the video was not McMillan talking this offseason, but a 19-year-old after his freshman year several years.
So in other words, can I interest you in a nothing burger? Would you like a side of fries with your nothing burger?
It's just insane, man. Film watching comments, 2023 interview. The one ripple in McMillan's otherwise smooth profile comes from a 2023 interview that resurfaced in 2025. He admitted he didn't enjoy watching football on film, only doing so when coaches require it. Some scouts and fans have spun this into a narrative about work ethic or passion, but it's a single comment, not an incident. On the field, his 2024 stats, assuming continued excellence, suggests he's still putting in the work where it counts. Then a clean reputation. It says scouting reports from outlets like NFL Draft Buzz and Bleacher Report consistently paint McMillan as a low-risk character prospect. No disciplinary actions, no locker room drama, just a 6'5" target who dominated Pac-12 defenses. The, quote, character issue label seems more speculative than substantiated. So you see the RAS here. It's incomplete, but he came in at 6'4", 219 pounds at the combine, both scoring nines. 40-yard dash of 4.53 with arm length 31.5 inches and hand size of 10 inches. A 10-yard split of 1.58 and a 20-yard split of 2.62. Now, it goes on to say Tet McMillan's full injury history, while McMillan's character concerns appear minimal, his physical durability has occasionally come under scrutiny. Here's a comprehensive look at the injury history based on available reports. Before we move into that, I want to get your all's take on this, Tim. I think we got your take. Jacob, what do you think? Is this a big nothing burger, or does this worry you?
I personally don't care about that whatsoever. I believe that I saw a coach in the chat saying that this was from a clip when this dude was like a kid, basically. Coach says it was when he was from 17. Bates says, I was watching a different type of film at 17. I agree. The point is that you do some stupid stuff. You say some stupid stuff. And you never know what you're going to evolve into within the course of years, let alone your young adult life. So it's a weird moment for it to come around. Like you said, it's almost like it's Lion season, it's TMZ season, it's drama season. It's anything you can do to chop out the knee from the other guy that may have a little bit of, I was just going to say, like Judy said right here, they're trying to take someone's knees out so that they can, undercut him and get there and just, oh, wow, that's weird. Cool. He fell.
Maybe he's on the board at 23 for the pack then.
Exactly. So.
And it's, like the article that Ryan read the other day. And listen, I've got a ton of respect for Ryan Schlip. Love what he does. Love the podcast, all that. The Bob McGinn article, my only rebuttal with that is like someone had mentioned, hey, this is what Ryan was talking about on his pod. And I'm like, he's like, where scouts said, something similar to this. I'm like, who were the scouts? Well, we don't know. Gotcha. What team were the scouts from? We don't know that. We know nothing about that. All we know is Bob
it was
McGinn,
a source close to the situation, Clay.
right?
God.
And listen, it may be true, but if we're basing, and I'm not saying Ryan's doing this, don't take this the wrong way. If we're basing where we should put somebody on our draft board based off of anonymous sources, we don't know the scouts' names, we don't know their background, the way they talk. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've had the pleasure of personally knowing 4 NFL scouts. They don't talk like that. I'm just telling you, the people I've met, maybe when they're in their own arena, they do, but there's some of those guys, I'm just going to say it, and I like Bob McGinn. What's keeping someone like that from just sitting back and going, I think I'll throw this in the article? That's an anonymous source. Like, I'm just being honest. That's what it sounded like. It's like, how can I make this dicier than it actually is what it feels like to me. Yep. But again, that's me speculating on Bob McGinn as well. So it is what it is, right? And maybe he is
the first 19-year-old hotshot receiver that doesn't want to watch tape, right?
Right.
Like, it's kind of, he's a young player. Like we said, it's from his freshman year. You got to think as a guy gets older, he's 22 going on 23 now. He'll be,
he's turning 22 next week, actually.
Okay. So 22 years old next week. Awesome. He's probably on the track now. I bet you he's watching film. I bet you he's studying routes. I bet you he's putting in the extra work now, getting ready to make the turn into the big boy show. It's one thing to be the man in high school and then go to college and, excel. It's another thing to make that step and be a pro. So I think it just comes with growth and maturity.
Yeah. And again, if you're wondering why we're talking about Tet McMillan, many people say there's no way he's going to fall to 23. I don't think he will either. I think this is what Drew said. People were trying to kind of pull him down a little bit so maybe they could get him. But also, it depends on where he goes, because if he gets drafted before the Packers, that means someone else is falling to us too, right? It's the same thing with like Tyler Shough. If we have time, we're going to talk about a little bit of Tyler Shough. So these things are important in my opinion, and you guys know how I feel. If he were to fall to 23, we have an opportunity to get the 5th best prospect on our board. I'm not saying it's correct and everybody else is wrong. I'm just saying we see him as a top 5 talent. If you're able to get him at 23, you're telling me because when he was 19 years old, he said he didn't like watching film, that we're not going to draft him because of that? Like, we went through the whole Jair history last night. We drafted Jair and he got suspended for the Outback Bowl.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we even talking about here? So, anyway, let's get into the injury concerns. So let's see if there's anything here.
Real quick, though, I found the source. Fred McFarley says, my sister's brother's hairdressers met Tet at 31 Flavors last night and said he passed out. Guess it's pretty serious.
Could be a crackhead. They got hold to the wrong stuff.
Thank you.
True. All right, Tet McMillan's full injury history. While McMillan's character concerns appear minimal, his physical durability has occasionally come under scrutiny. Here's a comprehensive look at his injury history based on available reports. Lower leg injury. In the spring of 2024, McMillan underwent a minor procedure on his lower leg before the 2024 season, sidelining him for Arizona's spring game and parts of fall camp. The exact nature of the injury wasn't publicly detailed, possibly a precautionary cleanup or tweak, probably a scope, I imagine, but it raised initial concerns about his availability. He returned to 11-on-11 drills by mid-August wearing a no-contact red jersey and was fully cleared for the season opener against New Mexico, where he posted a school record 304 receiving yards. This suggests the injury had no lasting impact on his junior year performance. No major in-season injuries in 2024. It says across his 3 college seasons, 22 through 24, McMillan has not missed a significant game time due to injury. He played in all 12 games as a freshman, all 13 as a sophomore, and all regular season games in 2024. The exact number depends on Arizona's schedule, typically 12 to 13 games. There are no documented instances of him leaving games early or sitting out due to acute injuries like concussions, sprains, or fractures. General durability notes: at 6'5", we know now at the combine it's 6'4" technically, and 210 to 219 pounds. Weights varied across reports. McMillan's size makes him a physical target, yet he's avoided the injury-prone label. His basketball and volleyball background may contribute to his body control and resilience. That's the big thing that Greg Cosell talked about, was his body control is insane for his size. Analysts have noted he played through minor undisclosed sorenesses in 2024 per speculation from draft scouts, but nothing severe enough to affect his 84 receptions for 1,319 yards last season. Y'all ready for the PFF grades, boys? Look at this. Bang. So in 2022, he was a 66.5. In 2023, he jumped to 87.4. He was the highest graded wide receiver amongst all FBS schools in 2020. He
was the best guy around.
2024, his grade was 84.8, making him third best amongst all FBS schools as well. You see where he lines up to. This is interesting. Notice right here. Not only, he's a wide out. Don't get me wrong. He lines up 588 snaps out wide, 117 in the slot. If you don't think for a second that Matt LaFleur would not love to have that dude moving around in his offense as well. So there you go. Character concerns as a 19-year-old. He said, "Man, I don't like watching film," and then of course his RAS is incomplete, but he's got the physical frame. He ran a 4.5 40. And, of course, the PFF checks out as well. I think this dude's a slam dunk. That's me. It's close. Anybody can be a bust, but I think it's close to a slam dunk you're going to find.
I would agree. I think there's a handful of other receivers you could mention in that crop as far as being worthy of a first-round pick, but not many, I think T-Mac is that dude. Probably the first receiver off the board in the draft.
Yeah.
Just my humble opinion.
Jacob, you got anything, Buck?
Chris the Casual Unseas is a clean prospect. Probably because he washed his hands, washed his butt. I'm just saying. But I agree. As far as being as close to almost a bust-proof type situation, it just seems like this guy, at the very least, his floor of all floors is being like a third-string possession guy. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like there's just it feels like you're going to get at least 5 to 8 years of really good football from this dude.
Yeah. Respect Orange says, quote, "I don't watch film. Film watches me." Tet McMillan.
Dude, the chat was letting some.
This receiving it's tough.
They were watching. What'd you say, Jake?
Did you see it? Respect. I said the chat's letting some funny zingers go. He says Tet McMillan doesn't replenish the soda. You got to replenish.
Always replenish.
Brett says he'd be more worried if he said he did like watching film, but it was only the Harry Potter movies. I'm just saying. Ben was warning us, be careful, guys. All 32 general managers are watching this pod. Fred was talking about how Buckets Goldenberg has a Pulitzer in his future. That's what they say. He went on. Fred says Bob McGinn is no Buckets Goldenberg.
You got that right. You got that right, sir.
Put some respect on his name.
All right, so to wrap that up there, it says, so why the sudden drop in buzz without new incidents or games to judge? It's possible the film watching comment has been amplified by draft season's rumor mill. Teams might be nitpicking intangibles as they finalize boards, but McMillan's tape and history still scream elite potential. His injury history, while featuring one notable scare, shows a player who stayed remarkably durable for a high-volume receiver. For now, the fifth-ranked prospect on our PTA big board remains a tantalizing enigma, possibly a victim of over-analysis rather than a genuine fall from grace. One thing is certain, someone is going to get a damn good football player on April 24th. So, Tet McMillan, any parting thoughts on that? I know we got Emilio joining us now. Whenever he's ready here. You ready, sir?
Yeah.
Get out.
Here's the guy.
We were just talking about Tet McMillan. I don't know how much of that you heard, but
I was listening.
I mean, this dude's squeaky clean. What are we even talking?
Yeah, I mean, the fact, trust me, when I was in high school, I did not want to watch film, man. That thing was the eye in the sky that yelled at you when you when you're not blocking on a play on the backside of a run and you're just kind of sitting there patty caking. You'll hear about it. So, I mean, I get it, but like Tim was saying, I'm sure dude's learned and he's ready to roll. You pick stuff up from film. He's watching, Tay Adams. He's watching different guys' releases. Why wouldn't you want to add that to your repertoire?
Absolutely, man. Completely agree.
Squeaky clean like Emilio fresh out the shower. Am I right?
Squeaky clean.
You're ready to go.
Your cats.
They're creepy there. I ain't gonna lie. All right, let's do this. We don't have enough time to hit that 5 prospects that could be available for Green Bay at 54. So let's do the Tyler Shough article real quick, and then we'll jump into that in the second hour. That sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
So Tyler Shough, why are we talking about him?
Here's the guy.
Greg Cosell said this is his number 2 quarterback in the draft. And he said that as soon as he said it on a Ross Tucker football podcast, Twitter blows up, everything goes crazy. And he said he had several people from within NFL buildings reach out to him immediately and said, "You've stood next to him and watched him throw, haven't you? Like, you know exactly what this kid can do." Like, they were hinting at, like, "Hey, trust me, you're on to something there." Right. I think there's a really good shot that Tyler Shough all of a sudden jumps into the first round this draft. That's based off of what, like I said, Greg Cosell's saying and what he's hearing. So I said from undrafted to first round buzz, Tyler Shough's rise in the 2025 NFL draft. This is by Buckets Goldenberg too, but he's been getting too much credit.
He's been tearing it up. I was looking through the Patreon, man. He's been putting in the work.
Hey, dude, he's a hard worker, man. Let me tell you. In January of 2025, Tyler Shough was a quarterback few NFL draft analysts saw as more than an undrafted free agent. After 7 years across Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville, the 25-year-old was overlooked. Now late March rumors have him climbing into the first round. How did this journeyman quarterback become a potential franchise player? Let's explore Shough's meteoric rise. Winding path to stardom. So you see here, it's showing him injured at Texas Tech, right? It says Shough's college journey began as a 4-star recruit at Oregon, backing up Justin Herbert before starting in 2020, 1,559 yards and 13 touchdowns. Injuries and competition pushed him to Texas Tech in 2021, but a broken collarbone, re-injury, and a broken fibula limited him to 13 starts over 3 years. With 1 year left, he transferred to Louisville in 2024, and everything changed. The breakout at Louisville says under coach Jeff Brom's pro-style system, Shough stayed healthy and thrived, throwing for 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in 12 games, leading Louisville to an 8-4 record. He averaged 266.3 passing yards per game, second only to Lamar Jackson in program history. His 6'5", 225-pound frame, I'm going to say it again, 6'5", 225, arm strength and quick release shown, especially in play action heavy schemes. 43% of their snaps was in play action. Pre-draft hype takes off. Shough's Senior Bowl performance in January turned heads, outshining bigger names with his velocity and poise. A 4.63 40-yard dash and standout combine drills followed, sparking buzz as a potential QB3 behind Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. With 10 pre-draft visits and workouts with teams like the Steelers, Seahawks, and Browns, analysts took notice. ESPN's Louis Riddick raved, quote, "This cat can throw the rock," while NFL Films' Greg Cosell lauded his, quote, "pro-ready traits," fueling his first-round speculation. Look at this RAS, guys. So he actually measured in at 6'4", a little less than 6'5". So 6'4", 219 pounds. He ran a 4.63 40. That's Aaron Rodgers 40 is what that is, basically. So RAS is a 9.69 through the freaking roof. The risk, age, and injuries. We talked about age, right? At 25, Shough will be 26 as a rookie, older than most prospects, yet age isn't a barrier. Bo Nix, drafted 12th overall by the Denver Broncos in 2024, at 24, turned 25 mid-rookie year, has excelled, proving experience can trump youth. Still, critics wonder if Shough's Louisville success was a veteran exploiting weaker foes. His injury history, 3 season enders at Texas Tech, raises durability flags, though Louisville staff called it, quote, bad luck. Why he's rising. Shough's size, arm strength, and accuracy fit the NFL mold, and his adaptability across spread and pro-style systems adds appeal. In a thin quarterback class, his upside and polish stands out for teams like Pittsburgh needing a developmental arm or Seattle seeking competition. He's a day one option. Projection, first or second round. Some mocks slot Shough in rounds 2 to 3, but first round chatter grows. A late first, 25 to 32, is possible if a quarterback needy team buys in, though early second round feels safer. Either way, he's no longer an afterthought. So look at the PFF growth here, all right? Just going from 2018 to 2024, 60.1, 68.5, 61.5, 76.9, 74.1, 65.2, and then at Louisville last year, 87.4. So he talks all the time. Greg Cosell talks about a player ascending as they approach the NFL. This is the definition of it right here, man. So conclusion says Tyler Shough's leap from undrafted to first round buzz reflects resilience and timing. A breakout year and strong pre-draft showings have flipped the script, making him one of 2025's NFL draft's most intriguing stories. Whether he lands day 1 or 2, Shough proves potential can emerge when least expected. What's your all's take on Tyler Shough? We'll start with you, Emilio, since you just jumped in, man. Do you think this is all BS, or do you think there's a chance he goes in the first round?
I mean, I think there's a chance. He's also the one. I think he's the one with 4 degrees. Smart, heady kid. The fact that he's got the body type for it, he's got the arm. If people are calling Greg Cosell, if people are asking DJ these questions, someone's thinking about it, right? But I think who started here? Whoever started here, H.E. Soder. Is this really about Shough or more about the lack of QB in the draft? I think. From what DJ was saying, there's really only, I mean, the draft starts at like the 5th quarterback from last year. Yeah. So like that's where the talent's starting. I mean, you always need a quarterback, or you're always going to try to find that winner, the franchise quarterback. You're always going to take the shot if it's open. I mean, if he's there, you gotta think about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I don't get the Tyler Shough thing. One, because that's not how you say Shough. I seen that name, and that does not equal Shough. All right, I'm just saying that's not a thing. 2, I mean, look at this is way too long. It's like Van Wilder. This guy's been in college for so long. 3,
people said the same thing about Bo Nix. I love it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean that's fine, but I just it's a little bit weird concerning because you talked about progression, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you got your Cam Wards and you got Shador, but I look at a guy like Jalen Monroe, who to me, I mean, obviously 2022 didn't look great, but he graded out very, very well. Almost 90s the last 2 years. Willa Howard, 75, 78, 86. Riley Leonard, 77, 75, 83. Jackson Dart, 79, 91, 92. Dylan Gabriel, 87, 91, 86. You can go on and on and on. Tyler Shough has by far the least impressive grades out of the top like 7 to 8 quarterbacks that I can see it listed on even I would argue he's probably the least talented one out of the first 10 to 12 as far as just the grades, which obviously isn't everything.
You talking about the 87.4?
Yeah, I'm talking for the conglomerate though over his 3-year span.
His entire
over the last 3-year span. Yeah.
Now notice in 23 he's not ranked. 21 he's not ranked. 19 he's not ranked. 18 he's not ranked because of injuries. So
right. Yep.
Keep that in mind.
Sure.
Which to me is the most important thing with him. The guy's riddled with injury history, and it's a huge question mark, especially considering the fact that he's 26. He's not 21.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's more what I was trying to round out. Thank you, Tim. Is that was kind of, I think that 6'5", 225 though, running a 4.6, that's going to help. You know what I mean? That just right there's catapults him to where
the only one at 6'5", Jacob. I mean, some of those guys were 6 foot. Dylan Gabriel's 6 foot. The other guys around 6'2". So I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
always can have the frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that just being said, I don't quite understand him reaching up to the 2nd or the 3rd quarterback, but I could see him in the 2nd or 3rd round.
If it had been anybody other than Greg Cosell that said it, Tim, I'd have probably been right there with Jacob. But hearing Greg Cosell talk about it was like, this kid, boy, when you stand next to him and watch him throw a football, and like Jacob, you said it specifically, and you did a good job noting it. We're talking grades, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about numbers on a paper. We haven't seen him throw. We haven't seen, people are looking for a pro-style quarterback. They ran play action 46% of the time. That could be huge in like a Shanahan-style offense. He's got the mobility to get on the edge off a boot if you want to run a wide zone boot scheme with a 4.6 40. There's a lot to like here, but like both of you said, man, the injuries are scary. They really are.
Look at go
ahead, Jacob.
Sorry, interesting comment here from Larry Cano, who always brings the thunder. He says Jeff Brom, coach of Louisville, is the brother of Brian Brom, if you remember him, Packers 2nd-round draft pick, quarterback in the 2008 draft. Brian is the current offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach at Louisville. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Brian Brom was the guy that we took in the 2nd round when Aaron Rodgers was named the starting quarterback.
Yep.
And I love how they think there's absolutely no chance we could take a quarterback with Jordan Love at quarterback. It's like, oh no, you'd never. Okay, I'm just saying. They thought they may have something there, Tim, with Brian Brom. Obviously, they were wrong. And I ain't gonna lie, man. Once he left Green Bay, I was rooting for his demise because he was a pain in our ass for a University of Kentucky fan. We had to play them once a year. Brian Brown made me mad. So go ahead, Tim. What do you think about Tyler Shough? And anything else you want to add to this?
I was just finding my notes here from the Senior Bowl, and I had a short list of quarterbacks that I highlighted. I had Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shough. And I've been a big Jackson Dart believer for a long part of this, whatever you want to call it, scouting process, draft process. Tyler Shough is creeping up the board, at least in my opinion. And age and injury be damned, you got to look at a thin quarterback draft class and, kind of like the report said, right? Buckets Goldenberg hit it on the head. If you're a quarterback hungry team, you might take a flyer on a guy like Tyler Shough. And you might do it at the end of the first round or early second round, possibly, believe it or not. So I think anything's possible. Really, really do.
Jake Shabink hits the nail on the head, and this is something else that Greg Cosell and Ross Tucker talked about. It only takes one team to go. That's our dude, and now boom, he's a first round pick. Yeah. So you guys have heard us say this all year when we would start to talk draft. We would say there's 2 drafts every year, every April. Yeah. Quarterback draft and everybody else, right? The NFL draft and the quarterback draft. This is what we're talking about. Teams me and Jake have talked about it countless times on Twitter about how it's like no matter what happens, you will always see teams talk themselves into multiple quarterbacks sliding into the first round because if you get it right, you're set. But it is like we had said before, man, it's a tale as old as time for sure. So, Emilio, you're such a smart ass. Anything else you guys got to add to Tyler Shough? And again, the reason we wanted to talk about this is because this is what's going to shape up that first round. And H.E. Solder hit the nail on the head earlier. Hope he goes before pick 23. That would be absolutely awesome. So every time I see y'all laugh, I can't help but look at you.
I'm laughing at Bates' response to Emilio. Oh,
let's see. We got Daryl chiming in here. Oh man, another QB. 3 question marks. My man is fired up tonight. Seriously, Clay? 3 question marks. Man.
I think there's a difference between being fired up and lit up. I think he's a little lit up. A little bit.
Seriously, Clay? Let's talk about Max Crosby.
And with that being said, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side. For hour 2. We appreciate y'all.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour 2. All right, let's get to another article we got here over at the Patreon group. You guys remember, I think it was last night or the night before, we talked about 4 prospects that might be a good choice for the Packers at pick 23. And I think they were all 4 the Packers had met with already. Remember we did that? Yep. Now we jumped into the 54 spot here. And I thought it would be cool to kind of look at, okay, who's around that range that could potentially fall to the Packers at 54 that the Packers have met with. All right, so that's what this article is. 5 prospects that could be available for Green Bay at pick 54. Before we read them off, I want to get your all's take. Does anybody come to mind for you? We'll just go around the horn once for that. Pick 54, say the guy you want at pick 54.
All right, Tim gets it. All right, thank you. I was going to say Tim gets that. Man, I'd be all right with a guy maybe like a Ezaraku or a Jared Ivey or a second round,
second round edge defender, maybe
edge type guy. Yeah,
got it. All right.
Yeah, to your edge point, Jacob, maybe Princely.
That'd be great. Would love that. Love it.
You said Princely, is that right?
Yeah. Maybe like a Darius Alexander, something like that too. One of the D tackles falls out.
Yeah, Darius Alexander is one that's interesting. He's like a borderline first round pick for us, I think.
Has not met with the Packers yet, though. But Alfred Collins, D lineman around that number, Texas, is a possibility.
Isn't Alexander a little older too? He's like 25 or something. A little bit on the older side.
I want to say he is. I could be wrong there. I think you're right, though, Tim. All right, here we go. 5 prospects at 54. Buckets Goldenberg putting in that work.
Buckets Goldenberg.
when Green Bay makes we're not paying for it either. When Green Bay makes their choice with pick 54 in the second round, there's a solid chance these players could still be on the board. Below are scouting reports on each, along with their ranking on our PTA big board. Notably, all 5 have met with the Packers in some capacity, whether through visits, workouts, or interviews throughout the 2025 NFL draft prospect. The first one on our board, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. All right, Trey Amos is a lengthy, athletic cornerback with the size and physicality to match up against bigger receivers. He's adept in press coverage, using his long arms to disrupt routes at the line, and has shown good ball skills with a nose for breaking up passes. While his top end speed isn't elite, his fluidity and competitiveness shine in 2024 tape. Though he's still working on consistency and off-man schemes, Amos projects as a mid-second round talent who could develop into a reliable outside corner with CB2 potential for Green Bay's secondary. All right, let's move along here. Trey Amos, here is his RAS card. An 8'3", hand size was 9, arm length 31 1/4, 6 foot, 195, 13 bench reps, 32.5-inch vertical. That is horrible, by the way. But broad jump, 10.06, scoring an 8.50. So he's still got the explosion. 40-yard dash, 4.43 with a 20-yard split of 2.57, a 10-yard split of 1.53, and his shuttle was a 4.36. He did not run the 3-cone. But here's where it gets interesting, gents. They had him listed at 6'1". He ended up actually being a little bit shy of 6'1". Look at the PFF grade. Starting in 2020, 56.9. 2021, 77.2. 2022, 71.5, 2023, 76.9, and then in 2024, he jumped all the way to 85.6. He had 68 snaps in the box, played out wide 759 snaps. He is definitely a wide corner. He only played two snaps in the slot. I imagine he's probably following a number 1 that shifted to the slot, would be my guess. So what do y'all think about Trey Amos there in the 54 spot? It just so happens last night, that's who I had in the mock draft, if I remember correctly.
I love it.
Yeah, he's no Jahdae Barron, but if we're talking 54, right? We don't get our corner early. I like Trey Amos a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that the Trey Amos pick would be in certain ways better than Jahdae Barron, because with Trey, it's like we know where we're going to put him. There's no question. With Jahdae Barron, you're like, he's a puzzle piece. You know what I mean? And I feel like that sometimes hurts players.
Yeah.
I don't, Amelia, I know you played sports. There was always that kind of weird situation where if like the coach was like, well, I can play this guy anywhere, but you never really got a position of your own.
Right.
Like I don't want that for one of my high draft picks. I want them to be able to like, hey, we know where we're going to put this guy. We know where he's going to be on our depth chart, and he has a chance to work through that. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you want somebody that's more versatile? Or like, obviously you want the kind of the best of both worlds, but it's sometimes a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, you get a freak, you want to move them all around, you want to be quarterback, you can't be running back at the same time, and you can't throw them fade balls as well. So, you got to pick your poison. I think that if you have a cornerback that's set up to play outside, if you're feeling confident in the safety room and how Jeff Hafley wants to rotate the box, how he wants to put the nickel in there, whoever it's going to be, is it going to be a corner? Is it going to be a safety? I think that's going to kind of lead you to a little bit better of an answer as to who you're taking. Though, Barron can do it. Why not get a guy that's, used to it, comfy outside if we're going to replace Ja, or if you're looking at that as the bigger issue, then you can chase that. But again, that's why he also signed Hobbs. Let's just give us a nice sort of, we can't forget, like we already got one just so we're not in a predicament to be pinched in the draft. You can kind of take your pick when you're ready. So I do like having that option as well.
I agree. It's like Prince is saying, injury concerns with some of the other top corners helps Amos to go higher. I would agree.
Yep.
I like Amos more than, even guys that are like kind of comp to him in that same area, Ezra Thomas, Maxwell Harrison. Hell, even we talked about Will Johnson. Yeah. And with his injury history, it's like I look at a guy like Trey Amos and it's like feel a lot better about him than a handful of these other guys that are kind of in the same area right now.
Yeah.
Savone Rebel would be the only exception, right? I think we like him, but another guy again, injury history, right?
Savone Rebel,
25 on our board.
Yep.
Yeah, Savone Rebel, man. The more I hear about him, I'm like, I'm okay with him at 23. I'm just telling you. His coaches, teammates, everybody's like, this dude is such a competitor. He's such a team guy. He's such a just everything you want in a player. He's got extremely long arms, really good at press man. When I heard Greg Cosell say Savon Revel may be the best press man corner in the entire draft, I was like, what? Like that caught me off guard big time. And again, it was an ACL, but I want to say they clocked him at 21 miles an hour already on a treadmill though. So he's going to be good to go for training camp. I would be hard pressed to think that he wouldn't be. Jake Shavit makes a great point here because he has been mocked. Trey Amos, back to Trey Amos, has been mocked to the Packers at 23 before. He says, I kind of think it's Trey Amos at 23. They said the Packers were all over him at that Ole Miss Pro Day. So,
I believe it. We talked about Jahdae Barron at 23, and, who knows if he'll even be on the board, right? So Trey Amos, if they want to go corner in the first round, I totally agree with that. I could see that happening.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so again, that is Trey Amos in the 45 spot on our big board. Moving on to the next player. Look at this big dog right here, Alfred Collins in the 47 spot for us. Alfred Collins is a powerful defensive tackle with a frame built to eat up space in the trenches. He's a force against the run, using his strength and leverage to hold the point of attack, and has flashed disruptive potential as a pass rusher with improved hand fighting in 2024. Collins isn't the most explosive athlete, but his motor and technique make him a steady contributor. As a likely second-round pick, he could provide depth and versatility to the Packers' defensive line with the upside to grow into a starter. Listen, we're not saying he won't go in the first round. It's just you can see on a lot of mocks how he could fall into the second. And if that dude's there at 54, sign me up. That might be the 3-tech, right? And the Packers have met with him. Look at the RAS is incomplete. 6'5", 332 pounds. Right?
Thick.
Vertical was only 26 inches, and the broad jump was 800. So, very poor explosion grade. We have nothing else. Look at the arm length, though. 34.6 on arm length and 10-inch hands. So you get some big paws on that dude. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Going to the PFF grades. In 2020, he was a 66.5. Then he fell to a 55.4. Then climbed back up to a 68.4. Then in 2023, it seemed to have clicked. 79.9. And then last year jumped all the way to an 87.2. Talking about a player that's ascending as they enter the league, this might be the dude right here in Alfred Collins. What do y'all think about Alfred?
What's interesting, too, is that his improvement seems to coincide with when Byron Murphy and TJ Sweat kind of got out of his way. You know what I mean? It's like 2023 or 2022. I'm sure that guy's not being able to see much on the field. And if he does, he's pretty rotational. Same thing, a little bit more in 2023. But then 2024, it's like, here's your show, man. You got it. And he came out and performed quite well. I like that quite a lot.
Me likey. Yeah, I think that also the dude put in 600 snaps on the D-line, was also willing to be out there on punt return and field goal, extra points, being a senior as well. I mean, that's the last thing you want. I'm not wasting my time, out there on extra points and all that stuff. But, hey, man, get out there, try to make a difference for the team.
What do you think, Tim? You got anything to add on big Alfred Collins here, man?
Yeah, I'm co-signing Coach Len. Big hands, you're a Packer.
How about these hands?
Yes, Alfred Collins, man. I'd be okay with it at 54. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round, though. Playing in a big-time program like Texas. 6'5", 320. Like we had said, what was the RAS, the actual measurements? Yeah, 6'5", 332. So, absolute dog. All right, next on the list. Look at this guy right here, Tim.
Here's the guy.
Jaden Higgins in the 48 spot. So Jaden Higgins is a big-bodied receiver who excels at winning contested catches and serving as a red zone threat. His strong hands and body control allow him to thrive on jump balls. While his 2024 season showcased improved route nuance to create separation underneath, he lacks elite speed, which might limit his deep threat ability, but his size and catch radius make him a reliable target. Projected as a day 2 pick, Higgins could be a valuable possession receiver for Green Bay's offense. So when you look at the RAS here, 9'6", he came in at 6'4", 214 pounds. His vertical jump, 39 inches. had a 10.08 broad, both of those scoring in the nines, 40-yard dash of 4.47. Now, the 20-yard split was a 2.62. The 10-yard split was a 1.54. So he's got some pretty good bursts there, in my opinion, coming off the line there at that 10-yard split. That scored him an 8.67 on the 10-yard split. His shuttle was a 4.28, and his three-cone was a 7.05. So that scored kind of an okay there. But, again, finished his total RAS at a 9.63. Here's where it gets interesting, too. Look at the PFF grades, gents. So
here's the guy.
In 2021, he was a 59.8. Then he jumped to a 78.2. Then he jumps to an 85.0. And just when you think, all right, man, he's probably peaked. Then he jumps to a 90.3 PFF grade, fourth highest amongst all receivers. Tim, the other thing that gets my attention here is look at the slot snaps.
Yeah.
He was out wide 515 snaps, but also played 222 in the slot. We talked about Tet McMillan having over 100 snaps in the slot.
Yep.
Jaden Higgins damn near doubled it. So he's got some versatility in that regard as well, being able to move, mix and match. Jaden Higgins is interesting, man. He was one of those players that when we did our wide receiver exercise, he ended up being one of the three finalists, the highest ranking of the three finalists. It was him, I think Pat Bryant, and Elijah Badger, if I remember correctly. I believe that's who it was. I hope I'm not getting Pat Bryant mixed up with someone else, but you guys can go check that article out in the Patreon group. It's in click on collections, not the collections that Emilio's in. You click on collections and you'll see wide receiver prospect files. You'll find it in there. But Tim, you have the floor, sir. What do you think about this right here? Would you be?
I mean, what else can I say about Jaden Higgins, right?
Dude, you called it from day one.
Yeah,
from day one. If they draft him,
I would be through the roof. Through the roof, man.
You're going to see us on cam losing our mind if they draft Jaden Higgins.
We'll be running up and down Lombardi Avenue.
We're going to go get Tim a stitched up jersey. It's going to say Tim Higgins on the back of it.
If Jaden Higgins is drafted by the Lions after they took Rakestraw last year, which is him to go
and Tim had to mock him last night and pick Higgins and just draw it right out for him.
You know what really made me fall in love with Jaden Higgins right away is watching the tape on him and just seeing how slippery he is and elusive he is. And you talk about the route tree. There's a handful of receivers that can run a route tree like Jaden Higgins. It's not many that are in this draft class. And then the release package too. You know, you talk about that burst on the split. You know, that's him coming off the release, and the release is sweet, real sweet. And he hits that 10-yard burst there. It's go time. And good hands, good size. Lot to like about this guy. You know, if he's on the board and the Packers don't take him, I'd probably scratch my head, but I would understand why, based on how the board unfolds, like we always talk about. But I could see him going first round. I could see him going second round. Who knows? We got a few weeks left here. You know, he could even fall. You never know.
Good point.
So this is definitely a guy on my radar, and I would lose it if we drafted him. It would be great.
It's a great point, Tim. I mean, literally, a video could surface of his junior year in high school, him farting in science class, and he'll drop 3 rounds. Right, that could happen. Jake Shabink in the chat said, "If
you think God never farted."
Perfect drop. I bet people think we orchestrate this. We don't talk about a damn thing offline.
Tim's got fast fingers is what it is.
Jake Shabink says if Green Bay drafts Jaden Higgins, he's got to make his way onto the PTA profile pic or banner here on YouTube. Amen.
Hell yes.
That will happen.
Tim's going to run him down on a bike and just, Jaden, real quick, can I just get a PTA for us? We're going to use that as a...
We'll get a selfie.
Tim will try to get his attention, knock him off the bike, and he'll tear his ACL. That's what I said. Can you imagine? And everybody be like, that's that guy on PTA. What do you think, Emilio? Be okay at this 54, man?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's I think it's a steal. We talked about, there's not that number 1 in the draft. Let's find the number 2 that you need. I think that he can fit that profile. And to Fred's point here, 4.47 is plenty fast. Wicks was 4.62, Dobbs 4.56. So I mean, you can't turn that down. I mean, if you have a talent that you like that can produce for you, go out there and produce. Can the kid block? Let's see. Let's get him out there and let's get him on the edge. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's interesting, man. Coach Lynn said that would be dope. Yeah, I mean, again, Tim, Coach Lynn said it earlier. Tim's been all over Higgins from the jump. Really have, man. And again, when you first mentioned him early in the draft process, I'm looking at my board going from 20 prospects. And Emilio, you witnessed it firsthand this year. 20 prospects to 40 to 60 to 55 to 80. And I'm going, all right, calm down, Tim, calm down. And then we get the boards built, and I'm like, I'll be damned. Tim was all over this dude.
And Tim's not looking at, I mean, Tim looks at the board. I mean, he's got access to it, but it's not like he's sitting there poking through it every night.
Not at all.
Yeah, I've just looked at numbers the whole time. Tim's like, no, I got my guy. Trust me, I got my list right here. No one moved from it.
Yeah. So I'm excited. And listen, is Jaden Higgins going to step into the league and be Terrell Owens day one? Absolutely not. But I think if the right offense gets a hold of him, the right receiver coach gets a hold of him, with what they've done at Iowa State with him, man, the sky's the limit. I really believe that. He seems like he's got a great attitude too.
And to that point, Clay, all good was saying, so is Higgins a true number one or question mark? All I was saying was that, and DJ was voicing that there's not that Marvin Harrison, Roma Dunze type wide receiver in this draft. Tet would probably be the closest to that. Besides that, everybody else is kind of a tier down from there.
Yeah, and it all depends on what you mean by true number one. Everybody's got a different definition of it. When I hear true number one receiver, I think of someone that defenses have to roll coverage to, right? Now, in Green Bay's offense, defenses didn't really roll coverage to Christian Watson. Don't get me wrong. They would play soft, especially after he ate the Cowboys' lunch his rookie year, right? Mm-hmm. That was kind of the coming out party, them and against the Philadelphia Eagles. But what you do have with someone like Christian Watson, you kind of put the defense on their heels a little bit. But within Matt LaFleur's offense, guys, they're not running a lot of go balls. They're not going, all right, 50-50 ball. If you get single coverage, just chuck and duck. That's not how his offense operates. So when I hear number one receiver, some people think of number one receiver just simply means he's the best receiver on that team, right? That's a number one receiver, right? That's that team's number one receiver. It just depends on
number one on the depth chart. Doesn't necessarily mean you're the number one.
But when I hear a true number one, I think of someone like, Terrell Owens that could take the top off and you're always bracket covering, right? I think of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's one who draws a lot of attention. He's going to continue to draw more attention.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. That's a dude that you got to know where he's at at all times. I'm not sitting there. I don't expect Jaden Higgins to step in the league and then roll coverage to him. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to earn those stripes. Yep. But he's definitely got the frame. He's got enough speed. He's got a low enough drop percentage, like we talked, was it 2.2% or something insane?
Yep.
Like,
and he's got the attributes. He's got the attributes to be a number one.
His success against man coverage, all those things.
I think you're right. Time will tell. He's got to play in the NFL, and let's see. Does he tilt coverage? Does he start lighting up, man coverage left and right in the NFL? Then you start having that conversation. I think at best when you're drafting a guy, you can hope he's got that kind of a ceiling, or there is no ceiling. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason why we drafted Scoot when we did, that potential, that high ceiling. So
exactly where I was going with that, Tim. Bringing Scoot in, who else had to earn his stripes? Yep. Hey, he ran a crossing route and Blankenship thought he could take an angle on him. No, sir. Yep. I mean, you got beat around. That's when you got 99 speed and the dude you're playing against has got like 94 speed. Clay, you just run right to the sideline and just curve it at the last second.
Well, I'm just telling you get out there on NCAA and you run that 5-wide set, not 5-wide set, but an empty 11. Okay. Yep. Put your tight end in the 3 on the right, have your speed demon in the slot on the left, the 2 on the left, and have your running back on the left. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you right now, dude, if they show that single high look and they end up in man coverage, all you got to do is you send that T on a drag, give you a little safety outlet, and you get on that outside shoulder with that speed demon. That safety ain't got a shot because what you got is 3 verts on the right with the Y holding that safety in the middle of the field. Chuck and duck, baby. Just hope the offensive line holds up. And let me tell you something. I'm going to hold the mic up for this. See this, right? Notre Dame's offensive line holds it. They hold up, I promise. That's all I got. Although it does feel a little cheesy doing it with Greathouse with Notre Dame because he ain't got that kind of speed and it still works. So, and I don't want to hear anything about me playing Valdosta State either. Okay, it has nothing to do with it. All right, Moving along. Look at here, Emilio. This is your guy you mentioned.
Yeah,
In
buddy.
the 54 spot, we got Princely. You say it, man. How do y'all say this?
McMillan.
How would you say it, Emilio? Have you heard DJ say it yet?
Yeah, I thought it was more like you meant a Milan, but everybody kind of, even I think it was Ross Tucker was talking about, you could practice the name for a week and a half, 2 weeks straight leading up into the game, and you go to call it when even for us, even when it rolls up on the screen, like you go to call it when it's time, and it's like I can't say it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out because we figured out Savone, we figured out JJ Pagese. We're gonna figure this one out. I've got a note there. Okay,
yeah, I think it's Milan, but
I'll have Mandy read it to me later.
Yeah,
so,
Mandy's got it.
Yeah. All right, so 54, Princely out of Ole Miss. How many have we talked about now in this? Two different Ole Miss Rebels, right? On this article.
A lot of talent from Ole Miss in this draft.
All right, there it is. So Jake says, Man Me Ellen. God, that's even harder.
Umami Ellen.
All right, anyway, here we go. Princely is an explosive edge rusher with a quick first step and a developing arsenal of pass rush moves. He's shown a knack for getting after the quarterback in 2024, but he's still refining his ability to set the edge against the run. His athleticism and bend give him high upside, but his raw technique suggests he's a bit of a project. At pick 54, he'd be a steal for the Packers, offering rotational pass rush juice with the potential to blossom into a full-time starter. Imagine if this was the dude, and we're going to get to the other measurables and everything, and the Packers took him at 54. Mm-hmm. And you got Rashawn Gary, who was our best pass rusher last year, hands down. He and LVN takes another step, which I love Ryan's breakdown of that. People that think LVN had a bad year last year, it's just like, I'm telling you, you guys you've got to dig deeper. Like, he's literally outpacing Rashawn Gary his second year in the league. He's outpacing or right at the same level as Trey Hendrickson his second year in the league. Like, he's on track. If he blows up this year, those same people there, LVN's a bust. You won't hear a damn. They'll be wearing LVN jerseys, right? So imagine LVN and Rashawn Gary on the edge. You got Brenton Cox Jr. with providing good depth there on the backside, and then all of a sudden you draft somebody like Princely at 54. If that were to happen, then he gets worked into the rotation. Well, in 2 years, what happens? You either move on from Rashawn Gary, or you do something with the contract at that point that he hangs around and wants to stick around for a while. That's cool for cheaper. But if not, you've got your next edge defender stepping right into that starting role alongside LVN. And by then, if LVN is proven to be the man, you give him a contract. You still got Princely on his rookie deal for 2 more years, and you're off and running. I would love this type of pick. So here's the RAS card, 8.98, so just shy of a 5-point bonus. You only get the 3-point bonus on our board. 6'4", 244. Composite explosion grade was elite with a 38-inch vertical, scoring a 9.67, a 10.06 broad jump, scoring a 9.61, a 40-yard dash, a 4.72, scoring an 8.39, 20-yard split, a 2.73, scoring an 8.25. 10-yard split, 161, scoring a 901, I believe that is. And his composite agility grade was okay with a 4.46 shuttle and a 7.33 3-cone. So now people will see the 244 and think he's too light. Why are the Packers meeting with him? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? It's just like with James Pierce Jr. We said about James Pierce Jr. So, it's a smokescreen. They wasted a top 30 visit on James Pierce Jr. That was it. Which is, hey, we're going to trick people here. Everybody on the face of the freaking earth knows the Packers don't like edge rushers that are under 260 pounds or 255 pounds, somewhere around that range. But, boy, they're not going to look into that, but they're going to know, yeah, man, Packers really want James Pierce Jr. Guys, they're filling these guys out. They're getting them in and working them out to go, can we work this dude into our scheme? Is he worth the 23rd pick? Is he worth the 54th pick? Now, Princely wasn't a top 30 visit yet. Maybe he will be. But they have met with him at some point. Why are you wasting your time talking to him? And again, if you tell me you couldn't put 11 pounds on that dude,
yeah,
like, what are we even talking about here? So,
actions speak louder than words, right?
And he struggled to set the edge. What would help him set the edge? Putting on 11 pounds. Mm-hmm. That would definitely help. So I'm just saying.
What do you think he ran at? 244 so that he could run faster? I mean,
that's what people do, right? That's just like They said that God, what was the guy that we met with? It was Shamar Stewart. Yeah, Shamar Stewart played last year somewhere between 280 and 290 pounds, but he shows up at the combine at 267. Why did he do that? So he could run faster.
Yep.
Right?
And then he's going to put that weight back on.
Or whatever the team wants.
Yeah, whatever the team wants. They may want him to stay trim. Yeah.
Whoever drafts him. So
we saw that with Rashawn. Was that before last season? He cut a little bit of weight coming off of that knee injury. So, I mean, it's actually a good attribute. If you can take it off and put it on at will and keep it off and keep it on, I mean, teams love that. It breeds versatility.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's go to the PFF grades here. So they had him at 6'4", 255. So he must have played at a little bit heavier weight last year. I'm sure he trimmed way down for the combine. So in 2022, he had a 53.2. 2021, he jumped to a 73.9. 2022, he jumps to an 82.1. Then he falls back to a 76.5 in 2023. And then last year, he jumps to a 91.1 PFF grade, playing in the SEC. Like, sign me up, dude.
Yeah.
Me up for Prince at 54. I just wonder if he'll be around at 54, to be honest with you, man. I don't know. But what's your all's take on Prince? Let's go around the horn with it here.
Go ahead, Emilio.
I was picking him just because, the dude size-wise, I think that, we're trying to maybe look at a different type of an edge. We try to Rashawn. If we don't get the Shamar, I think this is maybe that next sort of Rashawn. If he's already got the pass rushing repertoire, what did we get better at this year was our run defense. Sometimes it's all about positioning. Sometimes it's all about what they're asking the player to do. You could say he's a bad run defense, but are they asking him to bend the corner and try to get around the edge, not set it every time? That's a whole nother aspect. You had Walter Nolan in there. Is he doing X, Y, and Z? So I think there's a lot of factors to it. I love a guy that's also out there on special teams. Put him at slot corner. Okay, I like that. Let's back the guy out there, play a little NASCAR, mess around a little bit. I mean, and that's kind of what I was listening to Ross Tucker. They were talking about James Pierce. He can, I think Emery was talking. He can drop back and catch up. I mean, he can pick the ball off and run. That's what we didn't get from TJ Watt, right? If that's what everyone's mad about us never picking him, why can't we go try to find a guy that? Why can't we try to go find a guy that fits that? That can do something like that. I mean, he might not be him, but he can still do it.
Yeah, and I seen a clip where James Pierce Jr. lined up at right end and ended up, it may have been technically outside linebacker in Heupel's scheme there, but he ends up dropping back and the running back fades off and kind of turns it into a wheel route, and he covered him like 12 yards down the field. James Pierce Jr. is, he
flipped his hips and ran.
Yeah, 4.4. What was it? 4.47 40. Like that's faster than some receiver. Who we just talked about? Jaden Higgins was a 4.4. Who was the other guy? Tet. James Pierce Jr. ran a faster 40-yard dash than Tet McMillan. Think about that. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So,
and I'm pretty sure Prince was in that video that you had of them doing the circles when they were doing the around the drill and stuff. I mean, the fact that he wasn't scared to do the 3-cone and shuttle nowadays, that you can, hey, I'm going to opt out of it. It's not going to look good for my numbers. It's not going to help me get drafted. Like if I see a guy that's doing the whole thing, running through the whole RAS or whatever, all the drills, and he still graded out at average, but he knew that he had to do it. He wanted to do it, put his numbers out there, not afraid of it. Let's go.
2 over this says James Pierce can be our Travis Hunter. Jacob, you got anything to add to Princely here before Tim goes?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, you got the grades pretty much right there. And the 91 grade overall is awesome, but the run defense grade is nothing to shake a stick at with the 78.7. Obviously, the pass rush grade. Yep. But here's what I think is even more unbelievable. His pass rush win rate is 22.8%, guys.
Say that again, Jay. One more time.
22 for all. It's basically 23%. Like, that's really good. And when you look at his games by week, he only had one game that you would consider even somewhat questionable, which is a 59-4, which honestly against LSU is not the worst of the worst. Any other grade is nothing below a 70 or a 60. I mean, it's just nothing but good, decent, and then obviously great to elite. The best game that he played all year, guess who it's against? Oh, the Georgia Bulldogs. Have you heard of them? It was a 93.7 grade. Like, all right.
Yeah, we've never heard of Georgia. We only draft a guy from them every single season.
Every single year. Prince in the chat says Pierce will go to the Giants to play with Noob and Clayton will we?
Hello, Noobin.
What do you think, Tim? You be okay with Princely at 54?
Absolutely. I've got like when it comes to edge, there's a lot of guys to like, but like Princely, I've got in there with like Braden Swinson, Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson's another name that comes to mind. I would not be mad at all with Princely. I think just to Jacob's point, what he said is the added, benefit of his run grade, and he's going to help you out not just with pass rush, but he's going to hold his own in the run fit. And to me, it gives him kind of an edge, no pun intended.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. All right, next one. You're going to love this one, Tim. You ain't ready, man. You ain't ready for this.
Oh, I'm ready.
This is the 5th prospect that might be on the Packers' radar. They've already met with him, and he sits in a good enough spot on the board that if he's sitting there at 54, this might make sense. Now, most people have him going like around the 80, 90 range, some outside of the top 100. I want you to look at this picture, first of all. Look at that right there, boys.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harold
guy.
Jr.
Here's the
He's
guy.
in the 64 spot. So this was kind of a tough one for me because I could have went up and grabbed a tackle in Ursery, but the Packers didn't meet with him. Like, Harold Fannon's the next to closest one that the Packers met with, right? He's in the 64 spot. But again, Jordan Morgan was like 8 or 10 spots lower than we had him where they took him last year. We had him a little bit lower. So don't be surprised if some of these players that are lower than the 54th pick on our board, they go down and get, right? So here's what it says about Harold Fannin Jr. Harold Fannin Jr. is a dynamic tight end with a rare blend of size, speed, and receiving polish for the position. He's a matchup nightmare in the passing game, using his athleticism to stretch the seam and rack up yards after the catch, as evidenced by a breakout 2024 campaign. While he's still developing as a blocker, his receiving upside is tantalizing. Likely available in the second round, Fanning could give the Packers a versatile weapon at tight end to complement their aerial attack. Could you imagine splitting him out wide too? Imagine that. We're missing Christian Watson, right? And listen, he doesn't have blazing speed. Don't get me wrong. He ain't a 4.3. I want to say he ran like a sub 4.6 40. But I think it might have been Ross Tucker. Someone was breaking him down one day. They're like, people don't realize. No, I knew it was. It was a sideline reporter at the Combine said, people always talk about Travis Hunter's numbers and how he won the Heisman. Harold Fannin Jr. was right there with him in receiving numbers.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I know the blocking with him is kind of yet to be desired, but I think he blocks well enough to play in line. He's
got a block grade of 75 too.
Yeah, but that's
willing.
He's a willing blocker. So
I'll take that.
Yeah, that's something that he can continue to work on as he, develops as a pro. But
it's not. It's definitely not his winning. So it's not his winner. It's not his 100% grade for sure. He is a pass catcher. Yeah, he's a. So his blocking is subpar on the he can block level. But
But if you had to give Tuck Norris a playoff, you could put this guy in line and he'll get her done. Yeah.
Well, you look at his pedigree, man. It is really unbelievable. 13 games played, like you just said, inline snaps, 170, slot snaps, 140, can be that big slot guy. Had 117 receptions, had 1,555 yards, averaging 13.3 with 10 touchdowns, and a drop rate of 3.3. So he's not only just a great catcher, he is a really excel type of receiver with a 96.4 receiving grade. Real quick, these are his grades by week, guys. 89, 91, 89, 91, 90, 61, 93, 71, 71, 92, 84, 53, 82. You're living in elite right there. That's crazy.
He was the best guy around.
I like what Coach Lynn says here, man. If we can trade back, have an extra pick, then I'd be okay with this pick. Okay with this before. Yeah. So the PFF grades in 2022, 68.1. Then, I don't know, in 2023 jumps to an 85.8. That was the highest graded tight end in all of college football. Mm-hmm. And then in 2024, he just went out and said, you know what? I'm going to score 10 points higher in PFF grade at a 95.9 and still be the highest graded tight end. And people will say, he plays for Bowling Green. That's true. But what do you expect a great player to do at a smaller school? They should be doing that historic type stuff, right? Yep. And we have a little bit of precedent for drafting people from Bowling Green, a guy by the name of Carl Brooks, right? So there might be a little pipeline there. I'm just saying, I would be okay with this at 54. It'd be even better at 80? What's it?
87.
87? God, that'd be a dream at 87. You kidding me?
Yep.
But
I think when you look at tight end, if you're not talking Ty Warren and Colston Loveland, right? You know, you're got to be talking about Harold Fannin Jr.
Or Rondé Gadsden.
Yeah, or Rondé Gadsden is another guy that I think is kind of floating under the radar, but could move up depending on how the draft boards, shape out or whatever. But I would feel great about like what Coach was saying, load up on a pick and land a guy like this. We'd be in business.
I think a willing guy like this too. The fact that he's on two plays kick return, 3 kick coverage. He's out wide. He's in the slot. He's in line. Backfield. He's at quarterback for a few plays. The dude, they needed to get the ball in his hand. If you're that good at a Bowling Green type school, I want to see you produce like he did. The dude did that. So I mean, you're hitting all those kind of checks.
That's what makes me kind of scratch. Like Daryl says, LOL, Fannin Jr. is not a good run blocker. He's not a great run blocker. From my estimate, though, 17th. He's ranked 17th out of 452. LOL, I think that's pretty good.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
Yeah, you're killing me. Oh my God! Here's some more precedent for a small school at the tight end position. Clint Cosgrove, right? Tucker Kraft was a small school, right? I mean, this kind of feels like if the board falls just right, this might be one of Goody's picks. Mm-hmm. And man, coming out in a 12 personnel, running a rock a few times, and then coming out in that same 12 personnel and flexing him out wide. When you look, I think you hit on this a second ago, Jacob. I'm going to say it again. He was in the backfield 32 snaps, so they put him in at little H, I would imagine. He was in line attached, traditional Y tight end, 311 snaps, the majority of them, 204 snaps as a slot bully, and then he split out wide 160 snaps. Like, that's as versatile as you can ask a tight end to be. Get him up there, put 10 pounds on him, and let's just go to work. And I see a lot of Musgrave talk, right? Listen, I'm not giving up on Musgrave, but I know this. If you have a Harold Fannin Jr. in camp with Musgrave competing for that number 2 tight end spot, don't you think you're going to get the best out of Musgrave? And by the way, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And I know he's a tough SOB, but didn't Musgrave miss time both his rookie year and last year because of injuries?
Yes.
Tucker Kraft missed a little bit of time because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought that we just, we got Musgrave, and I'm not saying people in the chat are saying, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. We got to get out of that mindset of, okay, well, we got 2 good tight ends. We don't need another. Boys, injuries happen. It's just like linebacker.
Most tight ends have injury issues, right? They're going to miss time. Yeah.
Yeah. Jake Shavink, let's get crazier. Loveland and Fannin. Hey,
I tell you.
Oh, my gosh.
Jake, listen to me, man. Colston Loveland. Go look at, I think it was Ross Tucker's football podcast today. Greg Cosell talking about Colston Loveland. Mm-hmm. He was in. Did you hear it, Emilio? He
loves them. He loves them.
Yeah. So that really kind of perked me up. And again, why is that important? The Packers met with Colston Loveland. So keep that in mind. Not a top 30 visit, but, meet them with them. So Coach Lynn signs off. That's all that matters. The rest of you knuckleheads, I don't care about. Okay. Well, good. So don't encourage Jake, says STM40. All right. It says all 5 players bring unique skills that align with Green Bay's roster needs, and their meetings with the Packers suggest genuine interest. Which do you like of these? Like the most of these 5? Let us know in our favorite draft prospects chat here on Patreon. We actually got a chat where you can post your favorite prospects in there, and you can have a conversation about it. Again, if you want to join our Patreon group, just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. People used to ask a lot, how can I support the show, man? I don't want the show to go away. The number one way you can support, join the Patreon group for $3 a month. You get a bunch of extra content. We're now uploading all of our Chalk Talk episodes are going on file, so you can go back and watch that, learn what the Packers did, what happened, why did it happen, all that good stuff. You got access to our draft board in there. I'm trying to think every day.
Pull that draft board up. I want to show you something.
I'm trying
while you're at it, $36 is what I spend at a normal Chick-fil-A run, and that's it for a year for this. I mean,
listen, Emilio, I love our Patreon group, but I'm going to be real with these people. I care too much about them to lie to them. I like Chick-fil-A a lot better than that Patreon. Go a lot, man. What do you want to see here with the board?
So right now, I got it all filtered by the people we have met with, by Packers have met with. Now, let me just get a guess from each of you. How many people do we have on the list that Packers have met with, filter-wise?
So you're talking
just cheese emoji, just a cheese emoji, not Target or anything. Just they met with them.
I feel like I've put a lot of cheese emojis in this board.
I want to hear a number from each of you.
27.
You all guess first, and then I'll guess.
27.
Go.
Jacob said you ain't done any work, Clayton. What are you talking about?
19.
19. I'm going to say, I may be way off here. I'm going to say 108.
Clayton, there has been 129 that have.
Wow.
129? Oh,
are you kidding?
129 out of 100 or 545 rows we have.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
You're saying those are people that have met with the Packers or that are
East West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Pro Days.
Okay, so there's
everything. Combine.
Yep. So
office.
And what that is like Easton Butler keeping up with it, letting us know, hey, the Packers met with so-and-so. It doesn't mean that they scheduled them for a top 30 visit. It doesn't mean they went out and had dinner. It just simply means it was reported the Packers scouts talked to that player at a particular event.
Right. So real fast for me, Clay. Up at the top right there, you see the funnel-looking thing? At the top of the X, to the right of that, the two calculators. Click on that. Up on the top bar. Keep going. Yeah, over to the right. Keep going.
I see.
Right there. Yep, that guy.
All
Yep.
right.
Now click that. Now go to the Packers with the cheese emoji.
There it is.
Okay, so now they got all the cheese emoji Packers in here, and they're still by grade and at their ranking on the left side there. They're still at their number. They just got rid of everybody else so that you can just look at what the cheese are.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
That is sick. I will be asking you multiple times. Now, where's that at again, Emilio?
What do I do there?
Okay, now let me blow your mind real quick. Now go back to that spot and go to the target one. Packers target. Click on that bad boy. We got 7. Nice narrow. We got where our numbers are. Okay. Now the last one, Clay, go back to the calculators and go to tier. Group by tier.
By tier. You spelt it right too, Emilio.
I tried.
No, dude. No, you didn't.
Now we're cooking with ranking.
Crisco.
Yeah. So these are based off by five spacing points on the board, ranking them in their tiers.
And here, I just thought this guy cut grass for a living. This is why you go to college, boys and girls. This right here. That is awesome. So let me explain the tiers, and we got to get out of here. See, Emilio, this is how you get me. Yeah, you come in late, come into my meeting late, my press conference late, and then you hold me in here. So basically, most teams, their tiers are going to be clustered a little bit tighter. I like to bust the clusters up a little bit more. So in a tier of his own, -5 to 0, essentially, Ashton Gianti is hands down the best prospect in the draft according to our board. Then the next tier is Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham. Then the next tier is Tet McMillan, Will Campbell, Cam Ward, Armand Mimbo, Ty Warren. And then the next tier is Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, James Pierce Jr. So you see how you've got these clusters within these tiers. What you're looking for is a tier. When you get to a point where you got a tier with a bunch of players, like you see how they're getting tighter group now, like this tier here in tier 15, if the Packers are picking, and let's say that 4 of these players are available right here, that's when we say cluster buster. That's what we're talking about. You got to find a reason to separate one of these because they're all in the same tier as, all right, this is our top guy. That makes sense. So this is awesome, Emilio. You crushed it, bro.
Appreciate it.
Crushed it. Good stuff.
Yeah, honestly, Emilio, I don't care what everybody says about you. You're pretty cool, man.
That is really cool, man. And again, I will probably be texting you at 2 a.m. going, hey, how do you do that thing, Bob?
What's that button again?
Yeah. If it was me, it'd be like, hey, Emilio, I clicked on something and I erased everything. How do I get it back?
I'm telling you this. I haven't been this excited since we got electricity in Kentucky. Like this is just
I wanted to surprise you with it. I just wanted to see the reaction.
Crushed it, man. Absolutely crushed it. All right, I think we hit everything. We actually had one we're going to carry over. We're going to look at some of the latest mock drafts from, quote unquote experts, I guess you could say, like the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel did. They had a guy representing them that did a mock draft. We were going to kind of see who they had the Packers picking. There was someone else. Kyle Krabs has got a new one that just dropped. So we'll hit that tomorrow, and we'll have some other stuff to hit on as well. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap up here?
Just real quick, did y'all see Josh Myers?
What happened?
I believe he got signed by the Jets for just a 1-year deal that he's not projected to be the starter. That was only $2 million and one guaranteed or something like that.
Yeah. We covered that when he signed. It was about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. But yeah, that was And when I seen it, I was like, "Damn, Goody, why don't we give him $2 million?" Like,
it popped up. And I don't remember seeing the news, but I was like, yeah, it sounds about right. Like, but at the same time, I just I feel like that's fine. Go on to the Jets, and I like our rotation a lot better. I just thought it was weird because I expected him to get a lot more than that. I really did.
And Jake Shavink pointed this out. I didn't even see it saying Coast and Loveland, no matter what. That's what the PTA big board said. What it said, right? When you look at the visits, he's the highest ranked Packers visit so far on our board.
I'm gonna watch Draft Day tonight. I'm gonna watch it. It's time.
It's time. Where was I going with? I seen that comment and can't remember what I was going to say. It don't even matter. I'm seeing race car beds and spreadsheets in the chat. It's so hard to stay focused. I've literally got to stay here, even though the camera's here, because the chat's also here. And I
Dude, I'm telling you, it's so hard to read the chat and then listen to you guys and be like,
The cool thing, being a college football fan, I do think it's kind of neat. It probably won't work. It'll probably fail miserably. But the fact that they got Justin Fields at quarterback, Josh Myers at center, and Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. All three of those guys played at Ohio State.
Wow, that is true.
Kind of cool. It'd be cool if they kind of rekindle that and have success. That would be awesome. So look at that. Coach Lynn, Draft Day's on Netflix now. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about, man.
It's the best time of year, baby.
Yeah. There he says Amelia's the new Texas sport. Hey, man, you can stay. Get one of them tech visas. You'll be good.
Put Bates' comment up there. He called him Excelio.
Where was that? I saw that.
That was great.
Excelio.
Emilio, our personal draft board guru. Excelio needs a raise.
I updated the name for you, Bates. I got it on the
beautiful.
You already updated it.
Wow. Hey, you're up there.
I don't know why, but when they said tech support, I immediately thought of I think it wasn't that exact term. Remember on The Office when they had the guy come in and work on the computers and everything?
Remember when Kevin was running across the office freaking out?
I'm a runner.
Did she put her card in or she clicked on it or something? And Jim
it was a celebrity sex tape.
Yeah. She said, it all happened so fast. All right, this show sucks. We're out of here, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. Thanks to everybody. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Hop over to Rumble. Subscribe there. Follow us on X. You're obviously already subscribed to YouTube. We're now on Facebook. We're live on Facebook, although I can't figure out how to create the group and everything. I suck at that real bad. So we'll try to get that going as well. We may be on TikTok soon. I just don't know what's going to happen there. I go back and forth on whether or not that's a good idea.
Patreon.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if you want to support the show, the number one way you can support the show. Larry just broke me. This go fast.
Oh no.
No, Emilio's not Indian, but Larry got me when he said Emilio over Elon. The best way to support this stupid show is the Patreon group. Scan the QR code in the upper right. I'm going downstairs and trying to save my marriage. Bye.
Then we go. Bye, guys.